if there's one thing that the Australians want more apart from winning the ICC tournaments, it is to beat India in a test series and regain the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. After all, they haven't really been able to beat India in a Border-Gavaskar series in more than 10 years now, and that's where the desperation lies. Well, the experts in Adam Gilchrist, the players in Nathan Lyon, and even Pat Cummins have expressed their desire to win and regain the Border-Gavaskar Trophy by defeating India. And if we read in between the lines of the comments that have been made by the Australian captain, it is pretty much sure that Cummins feels that until they beat India in a test series, they would not be called the best test team in the world. And let's just go by, what Cummins has said ahead of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy 2024 and 25, that it's the kind of one big thing that I really want to tick off. By this, he really means that Australia haven't been able to defeat India in a Border-Gavaskar series. The last time they won, it was way back in 2014. Then ever since then, it's been completely India who have ruled the roost. They defeated Australia 2-1. At home, that was in India at that time. Then after that, India toured Australia. They won 2-1. That was a brilliant win for India. And after that, in the 2020 and 2021, that's when the biggest Gaba ka Ghamand came, wherein India, after being bundled out for 36 in Adelaide, they went on to win the series 2-1. They won the second match in Melbourne, drew a brilliant match in Sydney, and then at the Gaba, they defeated Australia courtesy a Rishabh Pant brilliance. And let's just go by Pat Cummins' comments once again, that particularly winning at home, we want to do it against India. People expect us to do well whenever we play at home, and that's what I think Australia have done. They've had that brilliant record against the likes of Pakistan, South Africa, Sri Lanka, England also. They haven't lost an Ashes series at home ever since 2011, and that's where Australia want to make sure that they want to tick off that final box by defeating India and maintaining their dominant record at home. Well, Pat Cummins also had a few things to say about Australia's chances in the BGT. He said that we feel like our team's in a really good space, so we have got no reason why we shouldn't perform really well. Well, Australia currently the reigning world test champions, wherein after the WTC, that final that took place in 2023, they retained the Ashes by drawing in England 2-2. Then after that, they beat Pakistan. They drew against West Indies 1-1. But then the biggest win came when they defeated New Zealand in an away series 2-0. So that's where Australia's confidence is pretty high. And the biggest thing is that in Australia, the fitness is not really a concern as far as their players are concerned. Obviously, they're going to miss a certain Cameron Green, but they do have a lot of able replacements, and Mitchell Marsh is there, who's going to bat at number 6. Is also going to share the all-round duties alongside a certain Travis Head there, who can also bowl spin, and Mitchell Marsh is obviously a seaming all-rounder. But then if we look at Australia's pace bowling combination, you have Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, there's a senior pro in Nathan Lyon, and then there's obviously going to be a Lance Morris who is good enough to trouble India. And that's where Australia's combination is pretty much settled, and India really have a lot to ponder about. Last but not the least, Cummins had his say on Team India's chances also. Well, he knows that obviously India are hurting after the loss to New Zealand at home. It's India's first series loss at home after a gap of 12 years since 2012, and that's where Cummins feels that I think anytime a team's under pressure, and obviously India are under pressure after losing to New Zealand, it's not a bad thing if you're playing against them. Our job is to try and keep them quiet, and that's what I think the Australians would want to do. Well, remember that Cummins is actually on a lengthy break, so obviously he's going to be making those useful notes as to how he can keep the Indian batters quiet, and he's obviously going to share them with his colleagues in Mitchell Starc and Josh Hazlewood and even Nathan Lyon too. So to keep the Indian batters quiet and just to make sure that they do not really score big, I think Australia have planned really well. There is desperation, but at the very same time, they also know that this is probably their best chance of defeating India in the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, knowing that India aren't really at their full spirits, at the full confidence. India's batting is struggling, and that's where Australia would know that if they are to win against India, they would have to keep Indian batting quiet, which they can possibly do, because India's batting is not really in great form. Well, India, when they travel to Australia, when they travel down under for the series, they would have the confidence of winning back-to-back series in Australia, something that they did in 2018 and then way back in 2021. But this time around, the challenge is going to be completely different. There are going to be more important World Test Championship final, points at stake, because India currently from the Mumbai test against New Zealand, they have a total of 6 matches remaining and they have to win 4 to qualify for the World Test Championship final, which effectively means that India would have to do a 3 time in a row in Australia. Now, can they really do it, or would Australia this time stop India from winning the Border-Gavaskar Trophy? You can let us know your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to Sports Today for all the exciting updates and analysis from the sporting world. Until then, on behalf of my producer Shivam, it's Siddharth Gulati saying goodbye.